Star City Broadcasting presents the 2019 Lafayette City Council Debates in partnership with the League of Women Voters, WBAA Radio, the Journal and Courier, NBC 16, and the Patriot 104.3 FM. Candidates for Lafayette Council at Large will be facing off for the next half hour uninterrupted.
Thank you for joining us for this broadcast of the Lafayette City Council Candidates at Large. I'm Chris Marissi-Visa with Star City News, your moderator for this segment of the broadcast. I'd like to introduce Republican challenger Todd Wilkins, and we also have incumbent Lon Heide, Democratic incumbent Lon Heide, and Democratic incumbent Kevin Klinker. First off, we will hear opening statements beginning with Todd.
My name is Todd Wilkins, and I'm not a politician. I'm a dad, a husband, a banker, a volunteer, and a proud Lafayette resident for over 30 years. But most importantly, I'm a neighbor that would like the opportunity to serve the Lafayette community through City Council. Running at large means that I will represent and be the voice for the entire city. Lafayette is a great city and one that my family and I are very proud to be a part of. I'm married to my best friend, Christina, and we have twin daughters, Addison and Emily, which are 2 years old. I could think of nowhere else that I would like to start my family than here in Lafayette. Like you, I want to see our city continue to grow and prosper. To me, getting involved at a local level of politics is about the desire to improve things like communication, economic vitality, community safety, and effective management of our resources. I will bring a fresh perspective and creative mindset to the council through my work, help the city move forward together. My passion is to bring people together, work towards a common goal, and do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Running for city council, I want to make sure that all residents have a greater voice in the city to ensure that the council is focused on the needs of the residents and businesses alike. We need to narrow our focus on providing safe neighborhoods for our youth, creating programs and initiatives for our youth to give them the opportunity to be our future leaders of this great city. We need to look at continuing our economic growth and support our small business owners. We need to look at outside the box ideas and push us to higher standards. We need policies that permit rational and responsible development, but also remain what makes this city great. For instance, we need to be smart about our land use while continuing to be business friendly. Another example is the need to be understanding of the social issues that exist in our city and how we can better help those in need. So I ask for your vote on November 5th.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. And now we'll hear the opening statement from Mr. Lon Heide.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lon Heide, Lafayette City Councilman at Large, seeking my 5th term on the council. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for giving us the opportunity to get the message out to the citizens of Lafayette. I'm a lifelong resident of this outstanding city. I'm married to a super lady, Loretta. I have 6 children, 15 grandchildren, 11 great-grandchildren, and then I leave town at Christmas. My business career was in the sporting goods industry. I started at Decker Sports Department in downtown Lafayette, later as owner-operator of the Athlete with my partner, Dick Robinson. As a councilman, our main duty is to be open and accessible to people of Lafayette and take their concerns to City Hall. Another main concern is public safety, with our police and fire departments take very seriously and are always looking for ways to improve safety in Lafayette. This administration has worked very hard to keep Lafayette growing in the right direction. Unemployment is at a low point, building construction is strong, and our city is prepared for the future development. Lafayette is not immune to some world's problems, such as violence and drugs in our community. I've experienced the death of a grandson from an opioid overdose 3 months ago. Did it hurt? It sure did, and it still does. He was the one that fought by seeking treatment, hoping for recovery from this brutal disease. He was in a treatment there for a short time in California, Indianapolis, Kokomo, Edinburgh, and Lafayette. There's a short the shortage of facilities in Lafayette and in the entire United States. I'm Lon Heidi, and Councilman Large. I would appreciate your vote on November the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. Heidi. And now an opening statement from Kevin Klinker.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for your service for decades to Lafayette and getting the news out. I appreciate that. There's some other folks in the media here tonight as well that have spent decades doing that. Thank you. Thank you to the League for sponsoring this. Like Chris said, I am Kevin Klinker, and I too am running for my 5th term for Lafayette City Council at large. Lon and I came on the board, the council at the same time, at that time with Steve Meyer, and now part of our team is Nancy Nargi, who couldn't be with us tonight, but want to give her a little bit of a shout out that she's a great member of this team and we miss her tonight. We're very proud to be on the Rosworski-Murray team. This has led us to the #2 ranking in Forbes for small metropolitan areas this year. Those go into cost of living, job creation, and our great public services. Speaking of our city services, we have what I consider the best trash pickup that in my lifetime, and I'm a lifelong resident of Lafayette. There's no extra fees or tags that you have to do for any of your brush and trash, and our guys do a terrific job of pickup. Our police and fire are outstanding. We are hiring more police officers to deal with some of the issues that come in society these days. Our fire department is highly trained and high ISO scores, which help reduce the insurance costs for folks in the city of Lafayette. I'm very proud of our parks, what we're doing, Loeb Stadium renovation. Very proud of the downtown and riverfront development. That's one thing I'd like to see even further developed going forward. And I think we've been very successful with the nuts and bolts, the blocking and tackling of city government and supporting the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Klinker. First question goes to Mr. Todd Wilkins, and that is, what is the one thing the city doesn't have? What is the one amenity that would be your top priority to bring to the city or build in the city? What would you want to attract, and how would you do that?
Great question. So one of the things that I hear a lot when I'm communicating with people in this city is there's not a lot of, recreational type things. We do have things like the Aviators, which is a great addition to this community, and making sure that we're able to continue those type of events, making sure that we have the parks, making sure that we have that community feel in this community. So I would sit here and say we do have great parks, but being a little bit more strategic with what we have within those parks.
Thank you. Mr. Heidi, what is the one amenity or attraction that the city does not have that you feel it needs to attract, and how would you attract that amenity?
The Chicago Cubs.
Amen.
Well, what was that again?
What is the one thing the city of Lafayette needs to have, and how would you attract that?
Well, it needs, safety like it have in the past, and we got great police, great fire, great mayor. Because the mayor's got vision for this city is unbelievable. It's not this year, next year. He looks down 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, and he's doing a super job with the roads and this ballpark we're putting up, and we're getting a penguin display, and then a merry-go-round or whatever it is, and they're going to fix the lagoon. They're going to fix Memorial Island. It's going to be great, and I'm proud of it.
Thank you, Mr. Heidi. Kevin Klinker, what is the one amenity or thing that the city does not have that the city needs to attract or build, and how would you accomplish that?
Well, I agree with both of my folks here on the forum with me. We can continue to improve our parks, and the downtown is what I think where we really have the opportunity. Along the riverfront, when you go to somewhere like San Antonio, I know that's a huge project, but certainly continuing to develop that riverfront and a walkability, trails, and opportunities for recreation along the riverfront. That's where we really, that's a thing that I've been wanting to do, and certainly it does cost a lot of money, and so we'll have to continue to create TIF districts and save and do some things and prioritize that in the future, and that's what I would hope to be able to do. Other than that, like Alon mentioned, the mayor has got a great vision. The parks are going to get the carousel. Loeb Stadium is going to be beautiful, all the renderings we've seen, but the riverfront is really the one thing that I'd like to see improved.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. 30 seconds to follow up.
Well, I couldn't agree more with bringing the Cubs to Lafayette. But one of the things that I hear a lot is focusing on that downtown. But what we need is the outskirts as well, being able to provide safe areas for our youth. That way so they have something to where they don't have to travel downtown. They can be right in their backyard and be with their friends and really kind of make a difference there.
Thank you. Mr. Heidi, 30 seconds to follow up on what you would bring to attract people to the community.
To here, just by
Other than the Cubs.
Other than the Cubs, well, I think Columbian Park is just going to be outstanding. It's going to bring people in, and it's going to bring businesses in, and I just love Lafayette and the parks.
Mr. Klinker.
Like I mentioned, I think the riverfront is the hugest opportunity to really bring folks here. I agree with Todd about the neighborhood parks. We've done incredible amounts to improve. I know the Centennial parks have been improved. The park down off of 4th Street has been greatly improved. The SIA park, donated park that used to be where the pool was at Columbia Park, all outstanding things for family and help the community and bring people here that want to participate in the job force.
Thank you. This next question goes first to Mr. Heidi, and that is, how would you prioritize city spending between downtown, new developments, and aging housing stock and roads? How do you balance those needs?
That's not for me to make that decision. It's we've got a lot of things that we have to have. Low income housing, it has to have some. And we have one on the H38, and which is a building, and people have to have a job there. They have to, go to work, and if they can't get at work or they're fired or something like that, they will not be stay, and that's major. I think that will allow a lot of people that don't have, an awful lot of money, and it's a great deal. But I don't know how many. It's only like 15 or 20 units, and that's it.
Mr. Klinker, how would you prioritize spending between downtown, new development, and aging neighborhoods and roads? How does the city balance those needs?
Well, I think they sometimes fund each other. Right next to City Hall, there's a 5-story with business on the first floor, 4 stories above, that will generate property taxes that can go to help our communities. Sidewalks, infrastructure, parks in those neighborhoods are what really helps beautify the neighborhoods, and we have to focus on making sure that every neighborhood is safe, that we get police into those neighborhoods, which we are hiring additional police officers this year. And I think if we do those things, there's a balance, and we tackle the biggest needs first and help the growth of both areas support the whole area.
Thank you. And Mr. Wilkins, how would you prioritize the spending between new investments, new developments, downtown area, and neighborhoods, particularly older neighborhoods and older roads that need some improvement and shoring up?
I think partnering with some great programs here in the community. Habitat for Humanity is a great service that is provided within our community. We also need to look at things like innovation when it comes to the Lafayette Career Center that is going on. That's going to create some really innovative ideas that's really going to make the city greater. Being able to partner with the Chamber of Commerce. They have done such an amazing job of really being innovative finding new ways to attract families, because that's what Lafayette's all about. We want to attract families because we've got a great product here. You know, we've got some really amazing people and public servants that we need to show that off. We want to attract people in here, so I think being able to do that would be paramount.
Thank you. And Mr. Heidi, 30 seconds for additional comment on how to balance those needs between downtown and older neighborhoods.
There's stuff to do because we got a perfect downtown. It's growing, and it's sculptures and everything. And that's a very tough question. I don't even know if there's an answer to that. Is there? I'd like to know. So, no, I think the downtown is one of them, and I think it's a plus.
Thank you. And Mr. Klinker.
I'd like to mention a couple other items that have been very important that the city has been involved in. The Northside Community Center, which Hannah moved into there on Elmwood Avenue, and we're partners with Faith and other local agency, the YMCA. City had a part of that, and what a wonderful thing that is. You know, having Purdue and Ivy Tech here obviously is a wonderful advantage as well.
Thank you. And Mr. Wilkins, 30 seconds to follow up.
I think it's important that, you know, we are the voice of the citizens of Lafayette. So what I would encourage you to do, if you've not been to the City of Lafayette website, all of our council servants here have their email addresses right there. Be active, email them, and tell us what you want. You know, what is going to benefit you and your family. That's what's important, because we need to be a voice for you.
Thank you. And now we're going to hear from Aubrey Ritchie, a senior student here at Jefferson High School, with a question developed by local folks.
Thank you. Mr. Klinker, knowing the importance of environmental issues, especially these days among the younger population, what changes would you make to limit Lafayette's carbon footprint?
You know, it becomes sort of difficult when you have, you know, the power company's the power company, and, you know, it's kind of a scope above what we can do. But one thing that we've done, I don't know about the carbon footprint, but for water and sewer, combined sewer overflow, worked with IDEM and the EPA to help our combined sewer overflow with millions and millions of dollars, and huge, we've kept hundreds of millions of gallons of waste out of the Wabash River from a combined sewer overflow. So while it's not a carbon footprint, it is a huge environmental impact, and I think probably the biggest thing that we've done and continue to support moving forward is anything we can do for the environment in a cost-effective manner. And it's proven that you can get green jobs. Any green jobs that would come here, I would support those as well.
Thank you. And Mr. Wilkins, knowing the importance of environmental issues, especially these days among the younger population, what changes would you make to limit Lafayette's carbon footprint?
I really think that what we need to do is partner with one of our greatest assets for Greater Lafayette, and that's Purdue University. Being able to work with the students and the faculty there to really find innovative ways to get rid of that, to limit that. You know, with the businesses that we're attracting into this community, there's going to be an effect because we are looking at manufacturing jobs, which unfortunately is a consequence to that. But I think if we utilize Purdue University and other resources within this community and listen and work together, I think that's where we're going to be able to find solutions, and we're not just going to sit there and talk. Let's try to get something done.
Thank you. Mr. Heidi, knowing the importance of environmental issues, especially these days among younger population, what changes would you make to limit Lafayette's carbon footprint?
Well, no, you have to pass on that.
Mr. Klinker, if you have a follow-up.
No, I think what everybody said, I mean, I think I covered it in the first thing. Thank you. It's a great question.
I think it's important to know that, you know, our city council does not have all the answers. That's why it's very important for our citizens of Lafayette and Greater Lafayette to be active. And we've got to rely on experts to educate us to find proper solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aubrey, and thank you to the candidates. Let's move on to the public safety tax. I think it's your turn to go first, if that's correct. The mayor has set out top priorities of building a new headquarters for the police department and a training facility. Adding officers on the street is in the mix too. But do you agree with the mayor's priorities, or would you spend some of that revenue a little bit differently?
I do agree with the mayor's priorities. As a police officer, we have, the police and fire, we have supported their raises to stay competitive in almost every situation. I think 1 year in our 5 terms, we had a freeze, when the budget was tight, and that might have been very early on. I agree that I've been in our armory, the old armory, which is now a police center, seen some of the active shooter demonstrations, or the scenarios that can be. And I think if you're a police officer and the pay is competitive and you are well trained in such a, in a job where they put their lives on the line every day, and they can be well trained and feel like they can go out on the street and be effective, I think the training facility is an outstanding use of that fund. And then hopefully we'll have that money also to improve fire, like I mentioned earlier, the ISO ratings, and which help reduce cost in your insurance bill as well.
Thank you. Mr. Wilkins, Mayor Rosworski has laid out his top priorities is providing a more up-to-date headquarters for the police officers and the headquarters and a training center, as well as adding some officers. Does your perspective, do you align with his priorities, or would you spend that money a little differently?
First and foremost, I think we're very fortunate to have a mayor like we do. He is first class and really puts citizens first in his mind. As far as allocating funds towards more qualified training facilities, really giving back to the backbone of our community, what makes us safe. If we don't have that, we do not attract families. It's very, very difficult. That's one of the biggest things. And as we've heard tonight, crime is a huge concern. And we've got to equip our officers. We have to equip our firefighters, first responders with first class training. Because if we do not have that, we can't grow. We cannot be successful in this community. And I mean, they are our backbone. I mean, they really deserve the best.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Mr. Heidi, Mayor Rosworski has laid out his priorities for the new public safety income tax and spending that revenue primarily to build a new headquarters first for the police department, and then to add officers and equipment, as the budget allows. Do your priorities align up with the mayor's priorities?
Exactly. We got a great mayor, and he knows what he's doing, and he's a former policeman. And safety is our #1 priority here in Lafayette. And I agree with him 100%. And it is more of a training thing than just a police station. So I think he's super at what he does, and I'm proud to be working with him on that.
Mr. Klinker, the mayor has laid out his priorities, which include building a new police headquarters and training facility with the new public safety income tax revenue. Do your priorities align with that, or would you spend that money a little differently?
I actually started.
I'm sorry, 30 seconds to
Okay.
follow up. Thank you.
No, what Lon and Todd have said, absolutely. It sounds like we're all in agreement. It's an outstanding facility. Other neighboring areas we've had folks in, so they can hopefully have benefits from this facility as well, and help the whole region, not just the city of Lafayette, as we have 260,000 people come into our community to live and work every day. I think it's very important.
And Mr. Wilkins, 30 seconds to follow up.
Sure, and I think it's important to show our community our investment within our service people. That's also going to let our youth, which is very, very important, see that this is a highly, highly sought out job that it needs to be. If you're a hometown kid, you know the ins and outs of this community. Just like we've talked about, we've been in this community for a long time. And we can speak to that. We don't need to bring more policemen in from outside. Let's promote that within and really, be a part of the community that way.
We can squeeze in one more question fairly quickly. I think, Mr. Wilkins, this goes to you first. What can the city do to help create additional affordable housing? A couple of months ago, two residents came to the city council meeting and asked the council to consider rent control. The council said it would look into it, but what steps can the city take to make rent affordable for people on lower incomes?
I think it's really kind of at a standpoint of some of these dilapidated housing. Let's see if we can kind of redo those houses and make them into those affordable houses. That way, so we can create neighborhoods, create parks that are around them, and make them to where families are able to prosper within this community. And if we don't provide that, then, I mean, we're doing an injustice to our citizens of Lafayette.
Mr. Heidi, what can the city do to help create additional affordable housing? A couple of months ago, a couple of residents came and said they were having a hard time finding affordable housing. That they were paying $540 a month and were having a tough time making ends. What could the city do to help folks in their shoes?
Well, it's tough. Like this H38 out there on, that is a big thing. And if we can get that going, where people, their rent is what they make money, how much money they make. And then, as I said before, they have to work. They have to, they can get to work. They got child care out there. All kinds of help for them. And if they get it down where your wages are, am I overtime? Okay.
Thank you. And Mr. Klinker, what would you do to help create additional housing in the city of Lafayette?
Well, I don't support rent control as just a matter, but we have supported some great projects. Chatham Square, I think, is a shining example. If you have 20 hours of work, have a yearly drug screen, it's been a great project where folks have their own area, their own lawn, and they can live and work and it's a beautiful project, and it brings those different factors together to make that a requirement to be able to do that, but it also provides the low and moderate income housing that I think we've supported in a responsible way.
Thank you. We've spent more time on questions, and so we'll forego the closing statements. My apologies to you, but we really wanted to get to some topics that people want some answers to. So thank you for joining us for this forum with the Lafayette City Council at-large candidates. I'm Chris Marisi-Vitsa with Star City News, and our next forum will happen on October 23rd at 7 p.m. with the West Lafayette City Council candidates. Please tune in so you can cast an informed ballot. Thank you for joining us.